We've almost covered the whole section on text processing in Bash. We've covered such tools as sort, unique, cut, tr, so lots of different tools. So far, we were dealing with text coming as an output from other commands, or maybe text coming directly from text files. And in both cases, we could do different kinds of processing on this text using the tools mentioned. And the last tool that we are going to learn about is paste. And as its name suggests, as with every other tool that we've covered so far, there is some idea behind its name that already tells us what can we expect from it. With paste, we can simply use it to paste text from one file to another, or maybe from multiple files, or maybe even from a single file. We are simply taking lines of this file and pasting them in some other form. So we can do those kinds of things. We are simply taking some text either from one source or multiple sources and displaying it, or maybe pasting it in some other form. And as with every other tools, there are multiple flags that we can use, and maybe we can take a look at them. Let's see what the man page tells us about paste. Merge lines of files. Yeah, so simply pasting, we can call it also merging lines of files. And the two flags, in this case, there are not so many flags. So we've covered, for example, sorted has like, I don't know how many, maybe 20, 30 flags. And in this case, we can see all of them here. But the two that we care about are -d and -s. And -d we've already seen multiple times. It's simply the delimiter. So with multiple tools, there are default delimiters like space or maybe new line, and we can always choose our own delimiter to be, for example, dot or semicolon and so forth. So that's the one flag that we definitely care about. And -s is paste one file at a time instead of in parallel, and that might be a little bit hard to understand what they mean here. But one way of using it with -s is the way that we would see in a second in the first challenge. It's simply combining multiple lines, like with -s squeezing them into a single line. So if you don't want to display all the lines separately, if you want to put them in a single line, you can use -s flag. And I remember it simply as squeeze instead of serial. So let's see a small example. For example, we can echo hello to some text file. Let's call file 1, and we can echo word into another file. Let's call it file 2. So we would, after executing this line, we have two files, one with hello and one with word inside it. And if we use paste on them, file 1 and file 2, it simply takes the lines from the first file and then pastes the lines from the second file on top of them, so appends the lines from those files. So we could also put it in some output file. Let's call it output. And that's the result. And of course, we could have multiple lines and so on and so forth, but we will see all of that in our challenges. So let's see the first challenge. In this challenge, we practice using the paste command to merge lines of a given file. You are given a CSV file where each row contains the name of a city and its state separated by a comma. I think we've already seen similar example before with some other tool. Your task is to replace the new lines in the file with semicolons as demonstrated in the sample. So let's see the sample, and yeah, simply names of cities and states, and they are all separated by commas here, and they want us to put them on a single line, all separated by semicolon. So for sure we have to use paste because it's a challenge on paste. And for sure, we have to change the delimiter to semicolon. And now let's run this code and see what we've got. And for that input, from example, our output is simply the input with no changes. And the expected output was to put them all in a single line. That's because we don't have any other file. Yeah, but by default, we are dealing with multiple files and pasting one after another. And here we want to squeeze all the lines into a single line and separate those lines with semicolons. So we need to use our another flag -s that would do it, and it would simply now put each line into a single line. So one after another, and they're all squeezed, and we have a single line of output. So that's the thing that they were expecting. And now let's see the second challenge. Paste 3. We don't want paste 3, we want to have paste 2. In this challenge, we practice using the paste command to merge lines of a given file. We are given a CSV file where each row contains the name of a city and its state separated by comma. Sounds familiar. I guess your task is to restructure the file so that 3 consecutive rows are folded into one line and are separated by semicolons. Let's take a look at sample input and output. And sample input is known, so those are our cities and the states. And in this case, our output doesn't consist of a single line. It consists of multiple lines. And on every line, there are exactly 3 cities and 3 states. So 1, 2, 3, 3 lines combined into a single line. This is this first line, and for example, the second line, Asheville, Atlanta, Atlantic City, that's the second line. Those are the next 3 lines. So exactly the same, not the same, exactly the thing that they told us here. 3 consecutive rows are folded into one line and are separated by semicolons. So the case with separated by semicolons, we know how to do it. It's -d flag for delimiter and then semicolon. But how to do those, how to combine all every 3 rows into a single row? We can use minus for this. It's a bit unexpected, at least for me. If you use 3 minuses, it would do the thing they want us to do. And if you would do, for example, 2 minuses, it would combine every 2 rows into a single row, and so on. So that's the way paste works. It works with minuses. And let's run this code to see just what we did so far. And it simply combines every all 3 rows into a single row, but they are still separated by default they are simply separated by a new line, and they want us to in this case they are separated not by new line, by spaces, but they want us to separate it by semicolon. But let's first see what would happen if you would do it like this. So 2 minuses, then we have simply every 2 line is combined into a single line. That's the way paste works. And -d flag for delimiter, and we want to use where it is here. I couldn't find a semicolon. For semicolon, and now it should work just fine. So that's the way we can solve this task, using minuses to combine every 3 lines into a single line. And now it's our third challenge. Given a CSV file where each row contains the name of a city and its state separated by comma, as usual, your task is to replace the new lines in the file with tabs as demonstrated in the sample. Input and output is known. This input, those are our cities and states, and in the output they put them still on a single line, but this time separated by tabs, I guess. We want to replace the new lines in the file with tabs. Yeah. So that's the way they wanted to do. So paste with -s, should give us part of the solution. It's even the whole solution, at least for the sample case. That's everything. So it's even simpler than the first. I guess I thought that we have to replace the new lines with tabs, but it seems like that's what it's doing by default. So we don't have to replace anything. We simply have to put them into a single line with no delimiter this time. So maybe they should reorder the challenges, because this one seems to be a little bit easier than the previous ones, and that's a bit confusing, at least for me. So let's see the fourth challenge. And still given a CSV file where each row contains, okay, that's the part that we know. Your task is to restructure the file in such a way that 3 consecutive rows are folded into one and separated by tab. So paste minus minus minus. I think that's the thing that we've done already. Isn't it the case? Yes, that's the thing that we've done already. So definitely they should reorder the challenges, because they are a little bit, the simpler ones are at the end and the harder ones were at the beginning.